Hello and welcome to Water Within Astrology. My name is Carly and we are here today to talk about the Gemini new moon occurring on May the 26th, 2025. And that is occurring on a Monday here in the Eastern Standard Time area. It's occurring at 11:02 p.m. and it may be different and it may be occurring on the 27th depending on where you are located in the world. So just double check that before taking my word for it. We are going to talk about the fact that we have a Gemini stellium, we have an Aries stellium, and we have Mercury in the sign of Gemini, which is its favorite sign, one of its favorite signs. It also rules over Virgo. So when Mercury is in either of those two signs, it is in its happiest place, and they call that in its home temple in astrology. So we're going to get into it. First of all, we need to establish the fact that Gemini is an immutable air sign. Gemini is occurring in the middle of the time before the summer solstice, and we are getting really up into that point where the sun is at its peak point. We're feeling very abundant. We have flowers all around. Farmers markets are bursting with produce, and there is abundance all around us. Most people who have been planning and planting their gardens are now starting to see things start to sprout. Things are starting to happen. Things are starting to change. And that is what Gemini is all about. It's a mutable sign, which means it's changeable, it is adaptable, and it is an air sign, which is, if we think about the winds of change, that is going to be probably the best metaphor for Gemini that we can come up with here. And indeed, the winds of change are here, and they are beckoning us to actually make changes and not just talk about it, because Gemini, being an air sign, all air signs are associated with communication, with the written word, the spoken word. Mercury rules over these things. And Mercury is also known in astrology as the shapeshifter and the trickster. So we can think of an unhealed version of Gemini, which is most likely the reason it gets the bad rap that it does in typical astrology, is because Gemini is a really smooth talker and really great at it's really great at weaving the words and using words in its favor. But when it comes to tangible action and when it comes to the 3D reality, it can sometimes struggle. What we have when we are working with Gemini is a bunch of options. Gemini loves variety, it loves options, it loves to play devil's advocate and play both sides. Gemini is represented by the twins, and there is a mortal twin and an immortal twin, or if you want to think of it as the good or the evil twin. Is the light and the shadow also known. And so what we're being asked to do when it comes to Gemini is to approach our own thoughts, our own mindsets, our own shadow selves, and start to be more discerning about what it is what thoughts and what mindsets are serving us and which are not, which are working towards the betterment and the highest version of ourselves, and what is a result of our shadow being present in our daily lives. So what I like to think about with Gemini is if you're looking at a mirror and you see yourself, and then you start to hear those dark thoughts, those thoughts that take you down into, negative spirals and to self-loathing and to whatever it might be. I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy. These are all things that we're now being confronted with, and we can choose to take action to change those things, or we can choose to ignore them. And that is another unhealed aspect of Gemini, is being in denial, being someone who wants to just keep things light and never go past the surface of things. And that can be a good thing, and that can also be a bad thing. Sometimes we need to go below the surface, and sometimes we do need to keep things light. And Gemini is really great for parties, for fun activities, like for being off the wall with comedy, with just being random, and adding that little spice of life to the social aspects that we sometimes can get dulled down, and we can get stuck in that seriousness, and we can forget this childlike part of ourselves that's fun, that's whimsical, that's just here to have some fun. And Gemini reminds us of that, and it is, like I said, something that can be really, really wonderful, or something that can be uncalled for and be, in denial of what's really going on. So what I want to talk about too is the fact that we still just came from this last Scorpio full moon 2 weeks ago, and whatever things had come up for us during that time are still being worked through and still being processed, because it's still part of the cycle. When we reach this new moon, this will be a start of a new cycle, but leading up to this new moon, we're still working with that energy. And we actually will be working with all the energies. Full moon energies last a whole 6-month cycle until you get to the new moon of the same sign. That's when you finally really kind of close out that cycle, depending on what's going on. There's longer and shorter cycles, but most of the time we're dealing with a 6-month cycle when it comes to a full moon or a new moon. So whatever intensities came up for us during that Scorpio full moon, these are now the times where we are taking action in order to change what we didn't like to see, what we knew that we needed to change, what we came face to face with that we knew enough was enough in whatever area of our lives. And so that Gemini energy is coming in now to allow us to make those changes, even when maybe during the full moon we decided that it was impossible. There was no way we could make these changes, and we became overwhelmed because of how intense things were becoming for us. Which is a very common Scorpio thing, where the intensity is so much that we, can check out, and we can start to, again, just be in denial and use whatever we are using to cope normally. Excuse me. Normally, what we're using to cope with is not so great when it comes to Scorpio, because Scorpio rules over poison and the underworld, and it can become very dark and depressing and self-defeating. So with Gemini, it helps to lighten the situation a little bit. Whatever situation we are dealing with, it's bringing some hope, it's bringing some lightness, it's bringing some humor even. I love the fact that Gemini is so healing when it comes to its sense of humor. For me, I have Gemini in my 12th house, and so I find myself using humor to deal with those dark fears and those dark, subconscious blind spots for my psyche, and my sense of humor is very dark for that reason, but it is this way for me to deal with those things, and for me to bring lightness to those really dark subjects. And so I love that. That's kind of my coping mechanism when it comes to those certain 12th house themes. And so let's just go ahead and talk about the fact that Mercury is, of course, the ruler of Gemini, and it is actually about to be in its Cazimi point. That is the meaning. Cazimi means that Gemini in... I'm sorry, guys. I have Mercury retrograde in my natal chart, and so this is a huge moment of learning how to speak for me, especially with this Mercury ruled new moon right off of my Scorpio stellium full moon that we have. So bear with me here. I'm doing my best. Mercury Cazimi is the point where the sun and Mercury come together in the sky. And that is a point where when they are at the same point in the sky, the planet that is infused with the sun is said to be infused with that light, with that consciousness, with that strength, with that tenacity, with the sun's beautiful, healing light. And that planet is now going through a rebirth process where leading up to that point, it was dying and it was getting burnt up by the sun. And then now once it hits the sun, it's going through that rebirth process, and it's renewed and reinvigorated and empowered. So what that means for us is maybe whatever came up for us for the Scorpio full moon, we needed to have some harsh and uncomfortable and intense conversations, perhaps, that we could have easily decided that we're going to continue to avoid. And we may very well still make that decision for ourselves, but all the while I think we know that certain conversations have to be had in order for change to happen, in order for healing to happen. And that is the other power of Gemini. It's able to have those conversations. It's able to figure out a way to have a middle ground, right? Because we have this good twin and bad twin, but they have to figure out a way to relate to each other, and they have to figure out a way to bond and a way to find a common ground. And so like when it plays that devil's advocate, it's merely doing it so that it can balance the polarity that the sign inherently has. It is a dualistic sign with two symbols, the two twins. And when a sign is like that, it's always trying to balance the polarity of it. Because when we have such, stark polarity, it is very difficult to find a common ground. It is very difficult to imagine that the conversations that we have decided are impossible to have, there's no way we can talk about these subjects. There's no way we can find a way to forgive or to, find any sort of way of navigating the polarity of the situation. And Gemini can do that for us, and it can be a superpower. And so with it being empowered in Gemini, I think we are going to be seeing a lot more of these groups coming together. It's festival season, groups coming together and, people gathering in order to have a common goal. Maybe not everybody who is at these events has every single goal in alignment or every single moral in alignment, but they're coming together for a common goal, which is to have fun, which is to celebrate the beautiful weather, this time of year that's, filled with joy and filled with abundance. We're coming together and we're finding that common ground, at least. And that is a beautiful start for a way to bridge the polarity that we're experiencing on Earth right now. Makes me so emotional, really, because, it can be so difficult to get over what we've decided, that what team we're on, what what we've labeled ourselves as, like what we have identified ourselves with, what stories we've told ourselves are impenetrable, and we can't put them down long enough for us to find, that true common humanity with each other. No matter what happens, these polarities keep us stuck. And we forget that these are just other people like us that are just trying to have a good life. They're just trying to do what they think is best in order to, live their lives. Mercury rules over our daily habits, our daily choices, our routines, and our way of living our daily lives. And so day by day, it can just be, maybe we've gotten into such of a habit of some sort and we want to break that habit. We have that opportunity now to change those and to really look at what's going on, and see it from a new perspective. I think this new moon is giving us new perspectives on so much that we really didn't realize we needed a new perspective on. And so the other thing is that we have, of course, like I said, 4 planets in Gemini. And by the way, Gemini season started on the 20th. And we have Jupiter, the Sun, the Moon, and Mercury all in Gemini right now. And so I have mentioned in past videos that Jupiter does not actually like being in Gemini, but we are actually at the tail end of Jupiter in Gemini. Jupiter is about to move into the sign of Cancer, which is one of its favorite signs. And so that'll be on June the 7th. What Jupiter and Gemini might have had us going through the past year or so is about realizing perhaps where certain mindsets are keeping us away from our greater expansion, because Jupiter is about wanting to bring us into our fullness, bring us into that higher, more divine nature, wanting us to learn more, wanting us to expand our knowledge. And where in Gemini have we been procrastinating, or where have we had too many options? Where have we been too ADHD or too distracted, and not focused on what our goals are? So I think when Jupiter moves into Cancer, we're going to be able to figure out where we've been distracting ourselves from the feeling of not being safe enough. Because what happens when we become safe in our psyches and in our nervous systems is we begin to change in ways that we never even expected us to change. For instance, there's this saying and post that's going around on the social medias about how it's really hard to make art in fight or flight. And that is so true. The more I find myself being able to make art, the more I keep coming back to the realization that I've continued to grow in my feeling of safety. And that has been fundamental in my ability to create and in my ability to move towards any of my goals and really feel full in my life. And so that feeling of safety is going to become central for us in Jupiter in Cancer for the next year. And so that I'm really looking forward to that, because that's my first house and we are excited. Some precautions I will say for Jupiter in Cancer. This is going to be a really fertile time for people, especially with prominent Cancer or cardinal placements. What Jupiter in Cancer does is it moves. Cancer is the mother, And Jupiter is expansion. So we could see that very literally, with mothering and the belly becoming bigger and pregnancy occurring. Because Cancer is not just the mother, she's the nurturer, and she is the feminine. So I think we are going to be seeing more social movements around feminine and any sort of people that have not been safe or have not felt safe and felt marginalized. I think that there's going to be a huge movement, or several, like there already is, around moving towards protecting those that are less fortunate, those groups of people that are marginalized. And I think there's going to be more compassion and more softness around all of the fighting that we have going on. And I think there's going to be a way of returning to that feminine aspect in nature, in all of us. No matter what your gender is, there's a feminine nature in all of us that is calling us to reconnect, calling us to, how would we want to be treated and treat others in the same way, whether that's other humans or animals or whatever. I think that's going to be a beautiful, beautiful thing for the next year. And so we also have the stellium in Aries. Actually, I'm recording this today on the 24th, and today is the first day of Saturn in Aries. So if you were born in 1996 to 1999, depending on what month you were born in, because Saturn moved back and forth in retrograde in and out of the sign of Aries, that's going to be the time frame where you are having your Saturn return in Aries. And lucky you get Chiron in Aries as well during this time. So what that means is Chiron is the wounded healer, as I have discussed in other videos. And so whatever wounding we have around our right to exist, our right to want what we want, our right to simply be who we are, that's going to be brought up here during that Saturn in Aries as well. And, with Aries, we're always dealing with the physical body as well. We're dealing with Saturn in Aries specifically, maybe we are going to be starting new routines in our body, in our health, in our healing journey. And maybe we're going to be having more audacity to start something new that could very well require a long-term discipline or devotion. So, because Saturn rules that long-term, and it's playing the long game to get the benefits at the end. And it might be uncomfortable at first. It might not be what Aries wants, because Aries wants that instant gratification. It wants to do things quicker, faster, and easier. And Saturn wants to do things harder, more uncomfortable, and it's going to take longer. So that can be a big problem, and there could be a lot coming up for us. We also have Neptune in Aries now, so we are seeing both Neptune and Saturn beginning a new cycle around the zodiac, Aries being the first. And so we're initiating things with our dreams and with our ability to imagine our lives the way that we want to imagine them and the way we want them to be with Neptune. And we're taking that action that is required, that is very reality oriented, that is very realistic with Saturn. So we're making our dreams come true. Aries has the audacity, it has the courage, it has the bravery, it has the energy, it has that penetrative energy that is willing to be direct, and it's willing to take that action. yes, Saturn is that limiting, it's restrictive, and it's, it's heavy. But I think with that combination, we could be seeing a beautiful new initiation of something in our lives, a beautiful new chapter regardless. You hear a lot of stuff about Saturn returns, and if this is your Saturn return, just be grateful that you actually know that it's happening, because I would have given anything to have known what I was going through when I was going through it. So if you want some more advice on exactly what's happening for you, because we have to look at your chart specifically and look at what house it's happening in for us to get some more specifics about what this next 2.5 year period is going to look like for you, then let me know, and I would love to help read some charts for people. So we just had Uranus make its Cazimi point as well, and that was in Taurus, and that was a big deal. Uranus, again, is this planet of revelation, of sudden shocks, and of awakenings, and of shaking things up for the sake of wake up. It's time to wake up and get a grip, and get going in the direction that you need to go to become free, to become liberated, become, realized. And for me, it seemed very potent that a lot of the realizations that came up during that Uranus Cazimi was around my mindsets, around what type of deep conditionings in my family that have still been lingering in my adult life that I needed to see that I had in the blind spot, right? Because my Gemini 12th house be like blindspots.com. And so, as soon as the sun moved into Gemini the next day, I think it was like literally the next day, if not the day. It had to have been at least a day apart, but we were dealing with family stuff, we're dealing with sibling stuff, we're dealing with who we consider to be our close inner circle. We're dealing with a closer community rather than like with Aquarius, we're dealing with like the wider community. That's a different air sign. And, great segue into Pluto in Aquarius is retrograde right now. It's still the only planet that's retrograde. And so whatever we're dealing with the Gemini stuff, with our close inner circle, I think at the end of the day, we can get real and realize like what happens in our inner circle is also a result or a ripple effect into how we present in the greater, larger community as well. Like if you have problems in your inner circle, and you have problems with your family, and you have problems with your people at home, your spouse, your whatever it is, people that are closest to you, chances are you're not going to be able to relate to people in the greater community as well. So, it starts close, and then it ripples out into the community. So we can use those closer relationships as a mirror to help us to see the reality of who we actually are showing up as in the greater world, and who we need to show up as. Because if we are not showing up authentically, then we have some problems, and we need to get that right. Because Gemini, like I said, talks a big game, but can it put its money where its mouth is? Can it actually say the things that it claims to be aligned with? Can it actually say that it's taking place in its daily habits and its daily life? And, what changes do we need to make, guys, to become more in integrity with what we say and what we do, period. And, Uranus is about to move into Gemini also. So, that's going to be more shakeups around our mentality, around our daily habits, around what's happening with our close community, with our neighbors, with our people that live at home with us, with our siblings, with our children. And, it's just time to see all of what is really blocking us from making the changes that we know we need to make. And also, like, the changes that we need to make in order to make our lives more joyful and more light and less heavy and less burdened, and less, complicated, really, because that is one of the biggest downsides of Gemini. It's like this chaotic force that can feel like a tornado. It can feel like, it's just all over the place and it can't focus, and it's this like ADHD nightmare. And we can bring it in and we can start to filter out what isn't serving. We can close those open tabs that we're not going to come back to, that we, that doesn't mean we don't get to do all the things we want to do, like, that's the thing with Gemini. It wants to do all the things. It wants to have all the options. It wants to feel free to do whatever it wants to do and to change and go back and forth. And funny enough, the next sign that we're going into with Cancer, that's another really changeable, yes, it's a cardinal sign, but it's ruled by the moon, which is this planet that is literally changing its shape all the time. It's never in one place for very long. And, from the naked eye, we see it changing all the time. And so it is still going to be this time of changing. It is still going to be this time, but like, how can we change and start to listen to our feminine intuition, in that part of us that isn't as logical, right? Because Gemini is Mercury, that logical, cerebral, very in the mind vibe. And then Cancer is like, but what if we took the mind out of it and we just went on feeling? We just went on intuition. We just went on this mystical, illogical, not necessarily illogical always, but just maybe there is no way to logically explain why it is we feel the way that we do. We just know we feel it. We just have this other level of knowing. And so I think that's, we start here with this cerebral Gemini energy, and then we're moving into this intuitive feminine knowing. So that is all that I have for you in my notes, and I wanted to just add a few little things that I have noticed coming up for me in my experience. I'm learning to really understand this astrology based on what I'm noticing in the energies around me, what I'm seeing in the collective, and what I'm truly understanding is in alignment with what's happening astrologically. I've seen a lot of us purging our material items. That is one way for us to lighten our load. I have seen a lot of us making the steps to move towards getting rid of all these old plastic clothes and working towards moving into a more organic and safe way of wearing clothes, like moving to 100% cotton and linen and bamboo and whatever else, getting rid of those like forever chemicals in the plastics that we're wearing. We're just learning so much about what practices have been in place for so long that are so harmful to us as individuals, and as we continue on generationally, what this long-term effect of all of these, poor choices can have on not just us, but on our descendants and on our family lineage. And so we are being the ones now to make those changes, not just for ourselves, but for the next 7 generations to come. And I applaud you if you are doing that work and you are, understanding the gravity of your everyday choices and understanding that you're not just doing it for you. And yes, it might be uncomfortable for you, but you are doing it and you are making changes. And I cannot tell you enough how amazing it is and how courageous it is to do that work and to make the changes even when they're really uncomfortable and the entire culture is working against you. And I also have noticed, like I'm going to be planting some more seeds. The seeds that I planted earlier in the season, only like 3 of them have been sprouting. And so I'm going to start again trying to plant more seeds. If you didn't know that the new moon is the optimal time to be planting seeds. Not just because of the new moon energy and it's planting seeds and metaphorical. It's also in biodynamic farming, it's encouraged because the water levels are lower in the soil. And I could be getting this wrong. Something about the water levels in the soil are optimal for planting seeds during a new moon, and vice versa. And the full moon, things are harvested. It's not just an astrological thing. That is a farmer's almanac thing. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I just know that it's a thing. I'm really excited to be learning more about farming and about relating to the land and to the soil, and healing in those ways too. Healing myself and educating myself in order to heal the earth and to heal our way of living as a whole, as a culture. So it's a lot of work, but we are doing it. I'm going to go ahead and draw a card. So, my favorite deck, as I have mentioned in the past, is my good old Adventure Time deck by Catherine Hillier. And so, we, in the nerd community of Adventure Time, really appreciate these cards because as they are very similar to the Rider-Waite traditional tarot, they are also incredibly relevant to the show and the characters, and it's really just great to see the beautiful connections that Catherine was able to make with the characters and the archetypes of the tarot. So let's go ahead and clear the energy of this deck so I can pull a new card for us on this Gemini new moon, sorry. And the 10 of Swords just flew out. Yeah, okay, cool, fine, that's fine. We're gonna do one more just for poops and giggles. We are asking for a card to pair with this 10 of Swords for the Gemini new moon. What does the collective need to know? Whoa, calm down. Oh, okay, I get you. We have the Star, which is Betty. Betty is a character. She was Simon's assistant and girlfriend before he was turned into the Ice King, or he was, he chose to turn into the Ice King, rather. And then we have, the 10 of Swords, and I think we all know what that card means. 10 of Swords, that's Jake's dad. Spoiler alert. Jake's dad is a jerk face alien who has literally always continuously in his life just used his other sons for energy sources, and he has continuously, like, basically killed them all and sucked them dry of their energy. So that's not good. And we can see that he's got 10 swords in his back. We're gonna just go ahead and review. 10 of Swords is a nasty end, bloody and violent. You fought for something and you lost. This is the darkest of the 10s. A man lies on the ground. 10 swords are stuck in his back, and there's blood on the ground. The man's face is turned towards the horizon. He is either already dead or quickly becoming so. With 10 swords, the man is destroyed under their weight. The swords represent thoughts, ideas, fears. They are not useful because there are too many of them. The 10 of Swords is a card of defeat. There is nowhere else for his thoughts to go. They have destroyed him and his potential. The hope of the card is the gaze towards the horizon. His act of surrender can lead to a new beginning, but first the defeat must be felt. So that's definitely going to be pointing to the Scorpio full moon death and rebirth that we may have been through in the last 2 weeks. And, you know, I will go ahead and say that I'm almost 100% positive that the Star card, which is a major arcana, it comes after the Tower card. So perfect. Whatever happened in the Tower moments that we might have had with, that could have been, you know, the Uranus stuff that came up with the Uranus Kazemi, or it could have been the full moon in Scorpio. It could have been anything at this point because we've been going through it, y'all. And the Star card is about owning your gifts and coming back brighter and better than ever. It says a naked woman kneels at the stream or perhaps at the edge of a lake. She has 2 cups in her hand. She fills one with the water from the stream. With the other, she pours the water back in. It is nighttime and the stars are out. After the darkness of the devil and the tower, the star provides a respite. I don't know how to say that one. A time of rest and recovery. It indicates that you are exactly where you should be and doing exactly what you should be doing. You have reached a state of balance. For everything you take from the world, you give back in return. It also asks you to take care of your health. The star finds itself at a number 17. So that's exactly what I've been saying. Where can we lighten our load? Where can we make the changes that we know we need to make in order to shine brighter as the beautiful stardust being that we are? That we might be feeling deeply the wounds around. Do we even have the right to be this? Do we even have the right to want what we want out of life? Do we even have the right to dream the dream that we have, that we've always had, that we're always coming back to remembering, that we're forgetting and remembering? We are here for a reason. We're here to shine our light, and we are here to be this authentic and amazing and unique star in the sky and part of humanity. So, hell yeah. I also have, you know, mentioned with the Cancer stuff, it's like, Cancer is also, you know, because it's the moon, it's this feminine aspect, it's this creativity, this fertile energy, this, like, ability to create something. Take something out of the ether and bring it into the physical. What is having a baby, right? It's something that was not before, and now it is this creative, it is this being, this new being that has a life of its own. And that's really powerful. It's really amazing. I'm going to bring this one back in here because it's time to pick a new one. What rune do we need to connect with for this moon cycle? Oh, okay. One just flew out. Great. Oh, it's the blank one. Hold on. I think the blank one does mean something, but I haven't learned that part yet, so we're just going to draw one more. Let me know in the comments if you know what the blank rune is symbolizing. Okay, I think we actually did just get this one in a past video, but we are going to just go with it. It looks like an M, but with the crosses, it's an X. It looks like an hourglass with 2 lines down the side. Okay. Yes, I do remember getting this one. Manas. Man, human, self, support, augmentation. Actually, maybe I just got that for my own rituals. Anyways, if I got it in a past video, it's okay. I think it's very relevant because, you know, like I was talking about our common humanity, and we're talking about how to reckon with ourselves, how to face our own shadow self, how to bring it all down to the realistic world that we live in, because Gemini can just be caught in the air, and it can never come down to earth, and it can be ungrounded and unstable and chaotic and whatever else. And it's like, what do we need to do to support ourselves right now in this chaotic time? What do we need to do to regulate ourselves? That's going to be huge. And where are we supposed to implement a new routine around our health, around our bodily health, around our mental health, around whatever it is, spiritual practices, whatever it is, we can do these things every single day, taking little steps. Gemini rules little things. Whatever little thing we can do every day to help with our mental health and help with the betterment of our situation is going to pay off in the long run. So I will leave it at that. I appreciate you all watching to the end. If you are someone who's new to the channel, please hit that like and subscribe button. Send this video to anyone that you think it might resonate with, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Okay, I thought of a couple more points that I wanted to make with this Gemini new moon, and one of which is to address the whole gossiping moment that the whole social media world, or rather the spiritual community, has exploded with, as far as attacking a certain member of the community for making certain decisions in his marriage. And it's like, this is exactly the typical type of Gemini crap. It's like gossiping about people, projecting onto other people, idealizing people to be perfect, expecting them to be perfect, denying the shadow, denying what we see in others is sometimes also within us, and it is almost most definitely within us somewhere. And it's like, just really kind of realizing that humanity is not perfect and we are all flawed. And I think what we are learning about Scorpio and from the Scorpio full moon partly is because we had a lot of things revealed to us in the darkness, secrets coming to light, and now we are, it's been very scandalous, and we are dealing with the repercussions of all of that. And we're also looking at how we ourselves acted in moments of ridiculing others or projecting onto others or whatever it was, making people out to be the scapegoat. And instead of looking within and seeing what's inside of us, these are the things that are coming up now. And I think we all can kind of see where we've been faking it to keep the peace or to keep it light. And, we're done avoiding, and we're changing what we do. We might have to override that first instinct, but ultimately we make choices every day in how we react to things and how we are in integrity or not, or how we project onto others or not. So taking this awareness into account with the whole situation and just seeing how we can observe our own behavior in playing the role that we are in the situation.